A long time ago, before the shift of the millennium, before Windows 95, two men had a dream. A dream of making a gladiatorial video game set in a medieval fantasy world. Those men were Ted Peterson and VJ Lakshman. The game, you may ask? That game is what is today known as The Elder Scrolls Arena, and the subject of today's video. In the early stages of development, Arena was supposed to be a gladiatorial video game set in a medieval fantasy world, where the player and their team would travel around the world to different arenas to challenge other teams and fighters until the player would become the Grand Master. Sometime in this early stage, however, everything was about to be turned on its head. In its early stages, RPG-like optional side quests had been added to the game, which the player could complete if he or she wished to, but during testing of the game's mechanics, it was soon discovered that these quests were more enjoyable than the rest of the game. As more and more time and effort were put into these quests, slowly but surely bits of the old game was taken out and new RPG mechanics were put in, and before anyone knew it, Arena had become a full-blown RPG. The game, which had originally bore the simple title of Arena, no longer fit its birth name, but it was too late to change. All material for the game had already been printed with the name Arena on it. It was then that co-producer Lakshman suggested that they made the title The Elder Scrolls Arena instead. The title change would later be explained lore-wise by stating that Tamriel had become so violent in this late age that it had been nicknamed the Arena. The Elder Scrolls Arena was released on the 25th of March 1994 to very harsh reviews, with only about 3,000 initial sales. In its original buggy state, the game was nearly impossible to beat, which only stood to contribute to its negative reviews. They would eventually release patches and fixes to the game to at least make it playable. Okay. Now with the background bit out of the way, here comes my review. I want to start off by saying that nothing that I'm about to say is in any way, shape or form meant to be an attack towards any individual person or persons. This is instead a critique of Bethesda's Steam release of The Elder Scrolls Arena, which, funnily enough, happened this year. During my playtesting of the game, I came to the conclusion that the game is poorly optimized for modern computers. No VSync, bad frame rates, and atrocious resolutions. While playing, I felt a little like playing a game I shouldn't be able to play on my system. The controls felt extremely outdated and clunky, along with sound design reminiscent of the NES. The first dungeon felt very disorienting, with corridors being near carbon copies of one another. The combats and the game's instructions didn't help much either. The game's combat is very dated, and it shows. It's mostly hit enemy, take hit, repeat until either the enemy is dead or you are dead. The AI on top of this is not the brightest. People will complain endlessly about Oblivion's AI. Play this for a few weeks, and then talk to me about bad AI. A lot of times, the AI would end up kind of just standing there and looking at me. I did at one point get stuck in a tutorial dungeon, where an AI had parked himself perfectly to block me from going forward, and at the same time block himself from hitting me. Very frustrating. With all that said, this game was made in 1994, for a 1994 audience to be played on 1994 computers, so I will cut it some slack. All in all, this game gets a 4 out of 10 from me. It's bad, but hey, at least it's playable.